That's never way turn around. Yes, it's decent. Stress now. Well, so. Well, good use. Well, yeah, but yeah, just with so it has good.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oil. Friday. Friday. Yep, I still don't want.
Whether it's linked. Is this the hot weather's linked?
It just goes on Christmas each year. I like this. Grandson of the Queen.
Oh, is that right?
Playing football over there.
Okay, fair enough.
Wow.
So he was making an excuse for me. I go to the bar. You know, she's gone.
Everything.
Yeah, right. The last one. He's a small. I forgot. I was like, they would drop it. So no. You gotta do that. Really. First. Yeah, really look pretty good. Take on the winter clothes and put them in the front and get all my summer clothes. And play in the winter. Not bad, but Springfield. Yeah. Oh, that's
I'll slide out.
That's pretty chippy. Friday night. I think the Marbury got some good.
And apparently big products.
I have a weird question. A few months ago, we talked about the need to, whoever number 9, raise that, I'm gonna say it's the biggest. Repair on the dam. If we were to take that down, would that help the city out at all? Because it drain into the system anywhere where it would be helpful. Yeah. We're great, like, we were talking about having to do that. Start that water out. Help the city keep the level.
I'm sitting.
Yeah. Was that the first time? So they thought at the time that he was into it. Double double penalty.
It's a burn lake, I would imagine that got far.
I was just thinking about, I remember we talked about having to do that within about a year or so. To repair the dam, so we gotta do it anyway, if it can help. We ought to start.
I don't know that it.
So.
I think they have to drain the lakes at the park. And it would be, I mean, it's ahead of it.
So he just did it. And he was down out. He dropped it. In his phone. Probably not gonna work. There is a plan.
Yes.
But someone still appoint a chair. Right.
And again, it doesn't pass. Something like that is happening. I think.
You can do I don't.
All right, someone go to work. Can you hear us?
Down closer to.
No sense connecting the audio and hear
Really? And that's pretty close.
Yeah, we're not having you, Robert.
Well, good for them, I guess.
Yeah.
Robert.
Because it doesn't flow from just.
The other way.
Julie, you're gonna have to read his lip. Can you hear us?
Can hear you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Those cookies. We are ready for you to call the meeting to order.
Yes, sir.
We're ready for you to call to order.
Okay, well, Julie, would you call the meeting to order, please?
John Bartles.
And you give roll call.
Yes, John Bartlesmeyer. Jim Hewens.
Here.
Dave Elliott.
Here.
Kirk Hart.
Here.
Brian Holt.
Present.
Robert Nelson.
Here by distance.
Unless you want to do a pledge of allegiance first.
Where's the flag?
Well, then it appears that it's time for this.
Great. I would like to move to appoint Dave Elliott as pro tem chair for this meeting of the Board of Trustees.
So move.
Call for the vote.
Holt,
Yes.
Hewens,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Elliott,
I suppose.
Bartlesmeyer. All right,
We seem to be missing the American flag, so. I guess you want to skip the pledge? Do you want to do the pledge and pretend we have an American flag?
isn't that bad?
It sort of
I
is.
think that's bad.
I think that is not a popular thing. Not under my. Oh, they're back. They're back.
We're gonna make it through this tonight. I know we are.
Well, of course we are. And a dandy flag bearer we have too. Would you join me on the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, being just and liberty and justice for all. Budget hearing. Comments from the board. I'll start off. Thank you to you and your staff for getting this all put together. That's a ton of work. I know it's a ton of work. And I appreciate the time and effort that goes in very much. Other comments from board members?
Any questions?
I would echo your thanks to Julie and your staff. I mean, and Julie specifically answered a lot of my questions about this whole revenue neutral thing and you know, for maybe for next year, I think it would be beneficial to have a little bit of a working session before they start to kind of identify what some of our goals and objectives are for the following year's budget, just so we can give her some direction in terms of where we want to end up, you know, for the tax dollars that we're hoping to use and that sort of thing. I think that would be helpful for me, certainly, and hopefully helpful for you and Dr. Kegler. But yes, it's there's a lot of work that went into it. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I would agree that probably would be. Anything else?
May I ask a question? When did we start that process?
As far as fees, we start about February, March, and then how to use that to work into revenue. But anytime after the first year, we had some goals from that type of thing.
We could probably do that in January and then.
Yeah.
That way we know which direction we're moving. Perfect. Okay. Thanks.
Julianne, we had nobody sign up from the public. Okay, so it looks to me like we're maybe ready to do some approvals. And Julie, is there anything else we need to know about any of this before we get into it?
Are we? Done?
After the.
Okay.
I know it's weird
That's fine.
for this time because they have the chair, the board. And then they do
Oh, I'm
comments
sorry.
from the chair and the board again.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Julie, anything else we need to know
There's-
before we just jump in here?
There's two approvals. First one is approving going over the revenue neutral rate a little bit. That's the
Right.
one that has all the resolutions, whereas statement.
Right.
And then the second one, each one has to be approved separately. And the second one is approving the budget, basically the top little piece of it is what I would read and say, yes, we approve or not approve
Okay.
the certificate.
And because my allergies are really trying to kill me right now, I'm probably not going to read a lot of stuff out loud because I'm likely to not necessarily be able to get through it without a coughing attack. So if you take a look at at item C, approval of the budget revenue neutral rate resolution, that was hard to say. And I'll let y'all read through that. And whenever anybody feels like we're ready, we can do a motion.
I'd kind of like to make a comment. Julie and I spent a fair amount of time talking about this. I think this is a kind of a confusing idea. I like the direction that it goes.
Yes.
The way that it's been implemented is a little bit wonky, okay? And like Julie said, we've got a moving target. We think we know what our valuations are gonna be, but we don't really know until November.
Right.
And so we're making our best guess.
Exactly.
But I think that the intent of this is, you know, as the college, we know what we taxed last year, and if we're gonna go over that and request more money, we need to do it consciously.
Mhm.
And not just get more money because the valuations have gone up, okay? So I like the idea, it's really confusing. And we still have some level of confusion because the county's reporting our revenue neutral rate is 27.659. Which we levied 3.666 million. So 3,666,000 last year, which by my calculations would put us at revenue neutral about 29 mil. So we're about $20,000 on our budget over what we levied last year. Again, I think this is really kind of confusing, but there's a big difference in the mills depending on which number you're using, our budgeted number of what we levy.
Each mill about 120,000.
It's not quite that high.
Not quite.
100,000.
Yeah, I did it a couple of years ago, it was 100,000, but
Yeah.
when I calculated it last meeting, it was close to 120,000. Yeah, that's very confusing.
Yeah.
It really, the way they've got it structured legislatively is almost not even real functional. Because we have to make declarations based on numbers that we don't know. Yeah, I have no further questions.
I would move we will levy the property tax as listed, exceeding the revenue neutral rate of 29.268 mils.
Second that. Jimmy, you want to call a roll, please?
Nelson,
yes,
Holt,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Hewens,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer.
Alrighty, D, recommendation to approve the budget for 23-24 as is presented. Yeah. Questions, concerns? Things you want to talk about?
I did have a question. We voted whenever that was to upgrade the software. Yes, Genspark.
J1.
Yes, and that is reflected in that software subscription.
6,400. Yeah. Right here.
Yeah, okay.
That-
I get you.
We don't get the full amount in this year because it will be a 2-year implementation. So part of it will show up in 24, 25. We asked them, Tom asked them, I think specifically what we should budget for this year, and that's the amount of money they gave us.
I was sure hoping that was including that. So,
300, what was 340,000? Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, question. That's. I make a motion, we approve.
second,
Bartlesmeyer. Hewens,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Hart.
Yeah.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
yes,
Okay, so if I understand things correctly, that closes the budget hearing, correct? And now we call the not budget hearing meeting to order. Is that correct?
You're correct.
Okay. And I have no comments. Do we have anybody from the public?
No.
Okay. So moving right along.
Well,
To,
this is where you add they are gonna add a report from Don George from Kansas Wildlife and Parks.
To the agenda,
Yes,
add it to the agenda.
so do we need a motion to
Well-
amend the agenda?
he's only presenting on the front side,
Okay,
nothing further down.
So is that E?
It could technically be C under call to order.
Oh, okay.
no action to follow.
Nope.
Okay. So are we okay to do the consent agenda then? I'm a little confused. But that's normal for me.
It's okay. If that had been written in the agenda, it would be item C under call to order. So we
Oh,
would actually
gotcha.
do that before we do the consent
Oh,
agenda.
got it. I'm with you.
That way
sorry
he
about
can,
the
I'm sure he has other things he'd like to do this evening.
I'm sorry about the confusion.
No, sir. Are you ready for me?
Yes, sir.
I don't know that you're ready for us.
That's the bigger question.
I'm Don George. I'm a district fisheries biologist with Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks. I have been the biologist of your lakes out here since '86, October 20. I'm also a graduate of this fine facility, so I have vested interest, if you would look at it that way. I wanted to come tonight and just touch base with you. I've not been here at a board meeting for quite some time. I wanted to touch base with you as one of your cooperators so that you're aware of all the things that Wildlife and Parks does here on this campus. For the East Lake here, we stock it and the West Lake every year, but the East Lake has been here for the longest. When I stock about 1,000, 1,500 channel cat into the East Lake every fall, they have a value of about $3.50 a piece. So it doesn't take too many years. And the time that I've been here, we stocked well over $100,000 worth of fish into your bodies of water here. Also working with the new president here on renovating this East Lake. We have a grant now where we will provide up to $40,000 and our expertise into restructuring, renovating that pond. I think you're all aware of the problems that are out there, I hope. I don't have a starting point date just yet when we're gonna try to work with the college and their staff on draining it down, but it is in the near future. And if anything, when draining the water out of this pond will run downhill to the river and to the water intake, and Fscc can drink it.
That's what you were just talking about.
So it won't go wasted. Do you have any questions for me as your district biologist?
How you say drain down to a point?
Well, it'll be our goal to drain it down until there's nothing left.
Oh, dry.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Because I don't believe there's an open valve on that, and we have to siphon or pump it down.
Gotcha.
We'll want to get every ounce of water out of it in case it rains in mid-construction and stops our progress. It is the most beneficial to do it that way.
Will you relocate fish to the West Pond?
I've not decided exactly what I'm going to do. This not quite as simple as just pulling them up out of this and putting them into that. There are a lot of other concerns. Aquatic nuisance species is a big one, where we try not to move fish or water from one impoundment to another without a thorough treatment. And that treatment requires 3 hours sitting in a tank. Even when we stock these ponds here with the fish out of the Rue Pond from Fscc Lake, we run them through a 3-hour chemical treatment. So we're not moving anything in those tanks but the fish itself. Once something bad is moved, you can't undo it. If we've learned anything from COVID, it's that people move things around. And it's in our desire not to be that, to do that at all. So That's a good question. I will try to put we talked about this during the week. I'll try to put one of my boats in up here and do some sampling to see. But get a better understanding of what I've got in there and what is valuable to try to move.
What kind of invasive? This would be referring to.
The worst is zebra mussels. And quite a few mussels like that are extremely invasive. So we don't have them in this county yet, and we don't want them. I promised that I would only be here for 4.5 minutes. I knew that I probably have never done anything in 4.5 minutes, but I was going to shoot and try my goal.
Well, I wanted to let the board know that even with when the pond gets drained, Don and I have talked about some different things that we could do. He's got to check with his superiors about removing some of the limits as we start to drain the pond a little bit, so people can just come out and grab the fish. But again, that's not a decision he and I could make, because I think I could arm wrestle him and get him to do it, but he's got to visit with his superiors a little bit and make sure that's okay.
It requires superseding KSA, Kansas statutes. So I can initiate that, but I have to get approval for that.
Superseding.
So he's agreed to check into that. He's also agreed that once we get the pond back up, that he wants to work with the college on providing maybe some one day passes that we would purchase, and we would give them to Tom's area so that students could go in and pick them up, and then they could go fish as they wanted to, or that he'd even sponsor a fishing derby or fishing intramural.
Aquatic education class, something like that.
So once we get on the other side of this, I think there's a real opportunity for the college to partner with Wildlife and Parks as we as the pond gets back to where it once was.
And I think it's a great idea to have a rod and reel checkout system, and especially if the college is going to pay for a daily permit. That's a super nice idea. I worked quite a bit with Dick Hedges when he was here, and one of my conversations with him was why is Fort Scott better? What can you do to make your campus better than all the other community colleges? And that's when we came in and helped build all the trails here. And I think a checkout program like this is another thing that makes you set aside different and better. So, and I think the trails I've always been super excited coming through town at night in my own vehicle and to go by the college and see who's out running on the trails. If you build it, they will come attitude has been perfect here. So.
Time frame for when we want to.
As soon as we can, so we tried to meet about 3 weeks ago, just to kind of have a conversation about when we would start things. Several people had prior commitments, so we're going to try to schedule something again in the next couple of weeks, because we want to get this started fairly quickly.
Well, also this rural water system. I mean, they can use the water too. So,
Might be an opportune time if we go, but anyway, we can help the cities definitely out.
But honestly, folks, it sounds good in theory, but you're not talking about that much water.
Right.
By the time it goes from here down and runs through one of the gun park ponds and then into the river and then down to the intakes, there's only a couple of acre feet out here. So it's
a heck of a nice gesture, wouldn't you?
yes, sir. It sounds really good on paper. But don't start watering your yards yet.
Don told us to.
He said it was okay.
But I think the anticipated completion date is sometime in 25, March of 25, I think is when we.
On a project like this, it's good to plan for the long side of it, because Mother Nature is always going to come in and change the rules a little bit. And then once it gets finished and rain comes in perfectly like I have planned, and it comes in at a time when we have fish available to stock, we still have almost 2 years before our product's big enough for our customers to want to use. And that's fishing and recreation. So it's gonna take a little while. Not a short-term project. Any other questions for me?
We do thank you for your help.
Absolutely.
Glad you're thinking about it.
Yes.
Thank you. It's rewarding to drive by and see people using the product that you work so hard to do. So I appreciate the opportunity to have it here.
It's definitely an attraction. Definitely is.
And you have a good staff to work with.
Yes, sir. He's talking about me, by the way. Is that-
It's so specifically.
I thought it's
So we're there.
Yeah.
You have to read a few lines, but I did.
I'm glad someone did.
And always, if you have a question, a comment or something, call me up. I'm in the book. The college has got my number. If you have a copy of the fishing regulations, which you should when you buy your license, it's got my name and phone number in it.
Cool.
So don't wait, just call me, we'll work it out.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And I'll snag a couple of cookies on the way out.
Please. Okay.
My
Yes.
So consent agenda, I'll let you read through that.
Discussing things, and she told me that.
Of course, we've got the agenda, the minutes from the previous meetings, treasury report, personnel actions there. And anything that any of the administrative staff needs, anything else we need to know other than what's written here?
I just had a question for Julie. We've been adding and transferring and so forth. Is there any positions that are unfilled that we're still looking for?
Yeah.
Oh,
We have a graphic. What's that what we call it? Graphics, digital content specialist, which will support Jared Dorsey in
Okay.
design and social media
That's a support staff.
and not just support. This person will also design and be in charge of
Okay.
some a lot of the social media stuff. Foundation director, executive assistant to the president. Nursing, we could take one more. One of these in here, I believe, is, yeah, I did put her on here. We did hire back a nursing instructor, but we still could take one more.
Okay.
Allied health coordinator. What am I missing? Oh, yeah, financial aid officer. Residence hall, look at you go. Of course, these are, oh, thank you. She's got a cheat sheet online. You didn't have to tell me that. So residence hall housekeeper. I think that's it.
Okay.
That's it.
He's on the migrant programs that Iowa and
There's
Louisiana.
Iowa, and then they acquired the contract for Louisiana, so that's why there are 5 of them in there, but it's similar to, it's just like what we have in Iowa. But in Louisiana.
So the fact that we just acquired it, that's why we are hiring.
Yes.
All these.
Yes, and they were all. My assumption is a large majority of them have already been doing this, it's just that they're coming under.
Yep.
Idea and
Yeah.
at our, yeah.
Anything else?
I move the consent agenda be approved as presented.
A second.
Okay, Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
yes,
Bartlesmeyer, Elliott,
Yes.
Hewens,
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
I think we're ready for action discussion items. Am I correct? Okay, approval of fairness and women's sports policy. Who wants to tell us about this?
So this, back in July, the state law changed to where, we were required to have some sort of fairness in women's sports, policy. This is something that the NJCAA is already more or less requiring us to do. Is that fair to say, Luke?
Yeah.
And now it is basically state law. And basically, we have to define our sports, excuse me, by men, females, and then co-ed or mixed. And this is based on the gender assigned at birth, the biological gender, is what the classifications are what we're required to use as the determining factor. So again, it is state law. And we are now compliant with state law. If you all approve and pass this policy.
So this was passed by the legislature, vetoed by the governor. That veto was overridden. Typically, that leads to a court case. Yes.
At the state and most likely the federal level, I could see that.
I would think, you know.
And so if that does go to the Supreme Court and there is a overturning of the law at that point, then we'll probably come back and
We'll come back to
have another conversation.
bothers me a little bit that there's not a lot of local control in being told what we have to vote to approve. Kind of like it's an emergency. Are there like thousands of instances where this has happened? They can't.
Not in the state of Kansas, but nationally, yeah.
Okay.
Nationally, there's swimmer, big one that spoke out.
Yeah.
There's been some others, but
Yeah. Okay.
that was the big case.
I move to approve the policy as presented. Second.
Whenever you're ready. Leland.
I'm sorry.
You're okay.
Elliot,
No.
Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Hewens,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer, Nelson.
no,
Still passes with that, doesn't it? Okey dokey. Administrative updates. Sonia, this month, hopefully it's not a surprise.
No, it's not. I knew, but didn't want to be the first one. So, first of all, I've been working with Chris Mingrelli on the CA new form, which I have to submit. Actually, it's gonna go through you guys before we submit it to K-Board for credit equipment certificate program. On the assessment side, I had to submit a report to agency, our accreditation agency, on November 17th. So for that, we've been working hard. Maria, Susie, and all the assessment committee members have been helping me pull the reports. We are helping the faculty write the narratives about those reports for the last academic year. So that's been the focus of my time right now. Working on the course schedule for spring and summer. I think that we have decided that October 16th would be the day we're gonna make it go live. The schedule. I did have a talk with CHC on a nursing faculty. They are thinking about letting one of their nurse practitioner be an instructor for one of our courses, but they still have to figure out those details. And when they let me know, I'm probably gonna, I don't know what the process is, but probably bring it to the board. I attended the COCO and SCOCO meeting with the system councils of chief academic officers. And there's been a lot of talk about the math quiz, which everybody is going to, because before it was college algebra was required for most of our degrees, and now we are moving towards quantitative reasoning. but there is still some gray area because if a student is undecided which pathway we tell them, either quantitative reasoning, and we are planning on implementing that in fall of 2024, but we may have to wait because the meetings we've had with K-Board, they want to make sure that the credit we provide, the universities are gonna take it as is, and our students don't have to go and repeat the math credit over there, so probably a lot of thought going on towards that one. The other thing we have is the KCOG conference that is for October 6th, where all the institutions in the state of Kansas, they are meeting to review some of the outcomes, course outcomes for those transferable courses. So I've signed up my faculty for that, so probably will be attending that on October 6th. And that's all I have. Any questions?
The nurse practitioner from CHC, that was kind of in part of the bargaining to purchase their building. They said, we're going to provide you with instructors also, and possibly an instruction room in their new facility.
Yes, and I have seen the facility. They have 2 teaching classrooms in the back. But I talked to Jordan this morning about whether we want to send our students to CHC or the nurse practitioners would come to our Burke Street campus. And his thing is, since everything goes through the state board, if we do use their facility, you're probably gonna have to get that facility approved by the state.
Okay.
And the state board does not meet till March. So if that is the case, we want to have somebody to teach the class till fall. So that's the thing.
Yeah. Well, we just want to remind them that that was
Yes,
part of the.
yeah, I've been annoying them to know what, I mean. No, I keep, bothering them, so let's see what we can do. So they've been, I mean, they were trying to help me with fall schedule, but it was a little bit late. Since all our classes were approved with the instructors, and that's what the thing is with allied health and nursing classes. Those need to be approved by the state, at least 6 weeks before the start of the class. So anything we change, it has to go back to the state to, get it approved. So,
You want to tell them about Jacob, Ben, how the transitions?
Yes, Jacob was the director of IR in my office, and he left me. Everybody has left me, and I know they don't say it to my face. Just kidding. But Ben took that position, and he's been very helpful since he started. It's been, I'm gonna say 3 weeks, right? Close to 3 weeks. He's been very helpful. We are working on the reports, whatever reports Jacob left. I mean, we have a whole list, and we've been doing that. We did a fall prelim report. We submitted it last week to the state. He's working on a benchmark report. So everything, we are just putting it on our calendars. So hopefully we don't miss between him and I. We make sure we submit all those reports before the deadline. And then we got Ally as the instruction office assistant, and she started last Monday. And it's been good. That's why I was like, okay, we need to get the schedule. As soon as she started, I was like, Ally, let's work on the schedule for spring and summer, because I know everybody is waiting for that to go live so the students can start enrolling.
So we reassigned to Ally. Sonia needed an administrative assistant pretty bad, because she was.
I was the only one in the office. So I know from 4, we went down to 1.
So we transferred, we reassigned Ally over there. Ally has a unique perspective because she's worked in the business office, she's done the payroll, she's been the assistant to the president. And so she knows, she has a lot of information, and she can recall things very, very well. And so the decision was made to move her over to Sonia's area to help stem some of the things that had happened there with departures, but also, as we look towards the future for working on our HLC report, I think Ally can be a tremendous asset working over there to help them get that part of the job done, because as they're sitting around talking about different things, Ally will be able to recall, oh yeah, we talked about that at such and such, and we'll have an idea of where things can go. Because you run into those hurdles when you're preparing for that report. And so we thought that was gonna be a good addition to her area, so we did that. And Ben has been phenomenal replacing Jacob. This time of year, it's tough because so many reports are due and it's bam, 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 right? One right after the other. And Ben has done a tremendous job. He has had to make the walk from his office to my office, back to his office, back to my office, because he forgot his signature or something like that. But he's getting his steps in pretty good now. But he's doing a phenomenal job. So one of the areas that concerned us was making sure that we had the transition in our instruction office solidified, and I think we have that now.
Yeah, no, and he's been good, and like I said, I've been new in my position, he is new, Ali is new in that position, so anytime we have a question, we just send state an email, and they've been very nice and helpful. Respond to our answers right away, and between Ben and I, we figure it out, it's like, okay, we'll do that. So we're just trying to do all those reports before the deadline.
Thank you.
Yeah, no,
Kind of important.
yeah, we want to make sure that we send those. Even there was a report which is, I believe benchmark report is not mandatory. And so we asked the state to give us some grace period, because it was like, okay, this is the thing happened and we are transitioning to our new positions. And it wasn't mandatory, but they're like, yeah, if you're willing to do it, yes, you can take time, and we are working on it, so we'll submit that report soon.
Anything else? Julie.
I have a question.
Oh, sorry.
Do we have a
Sorry.
timeline on the Horton Street building for the nursing building?
I will let you talk about that.
The bids have gone out to contractors and they've been in to look. To see if they're interested in submit bids. They will submit, I believe it's October the 5th. Their construction bids, and we'll open that day and then have something to present to the board on the October meeting, as far as who is awarded that job. And then our plans are, we still face a lot of lag as far as being able to get materials in. And so the plan is to have it completed by end of May, so that nursing can be moved over the summer and begin classes August of 24.
Is that part of the bid process at all?
The moving,
No, like the time frame where they have.
yeah, they have a deadline of when they have to be
Okay,
done.
okay.
May.
Yep.
I can't tell you exactly what day, but I think it's situated right around the day when students go home.
Yeah.
Classes are done in May, so.
I'm sure Jim Funes can get you whatever you need in a timely manner.
He was shaking his head over there.
Timely.
And that's kind of the construction people, they place the order where they want. Okay, I don't see mine in here, my report for the board, so unless I'm missing it as I'm paging through.
Blame it on Mr. Lee.
I'm sure it's my fault.
I don't-
It really is.
I don't know, but I don't see it. So just to update you a little bit, IT has several things they're working on. They're working on replacing some network switches. They've done a lot of, they installed security equipment over in Bailey Hall, so they've got the cameras and stuff up for that. They have installed some testing equipment up at Payola that far as completed projects. Resolved campus Wi-Fi issue up at Payola, so they've got several projects going, but they are also working on some hover cam installations in some classrooms, replacing a network switch, some laptops, that type of thing. Looking at cameras that are down and need repaired. I think that probably have testing cameras. They're doing a lot of different things. one of their biggest projects right now is related to updating the website. They're working with Jared Dorsey on that, so that's one of their biggest projects. Then they've got some future projects of a share file update, which I know a lot of us use that on campus as far as share files. Voice implementation, not that any of us have heard that word. And a compliance, one of the new compliance things is a security, it's almost similar to a fiscal audit where the auditors or an outside agency comes in and reviews our fiscal audit. They have an outside agency that they're working on getting a proposal for an RFP together, where the company will come in and review their security measures and make sure we are up to date. And it's a compliance issue now. We have to begin to work down that line. It is something the federal government has required. And so one of the first steps is to decide upon somebody to come in and tell you where your needs are, where your possible breaches could be, that type of thing. So they're working on that.
Once you get all those in place too, it drags your insurance costs down. So.
Yes, it does. They've already, when I don't know a lot about insurance quotes, but and insurance needs, but when I first started working on getting those quotes with IMA, cyber was not a big deal. I'm telling you, the questions for cybersecurity anymore, it is huge. It takes several days. Ben and Jason, and I think Kai's been on that some of trying to answer those questions and go back and get the material and make sure we get the best we can. Financial aid office, they've attended a VA compliance-ish training, and I think they have one scheduled in November that is free to go attend if you're close. They're doing all our FAFSA downloads, checking and monitoring for loans that students have completed all their steps for that, and trying to contact them, and if they want a loan, then they help them complete those steps. I was going to tell you last week, I don't think it's on here. Last week we completed our first refund distribution of monies, and pulling all of that across to students' accounts. Just the Pell alone, I can remember that amount as far as being awarded to students, not refunded to students, but awarded and put on students' accounts was $626,000, I think it was. And then our total refunds was $273 last week is what we refunded to students. That includes everything, loans, Pell if they had paid all their bill, scholarships, that type of thing. So we're in the thick of that, and I'm sure the community is happy with us because those students spend it in our community. For the business office, we're doing a lot of grant reviews and making sure we have things set up. Kind of like Sonia doing some reporting and compliance. I know she gave me one for SAP and something else that I'm working on. I can't remember.
Heavy equipment and SAP policy.
Yeah. Doing some financial analysis of expenses and programs and that type of thing. Of course, audit, we did move audit back. I don't think you guys know that. It was to begin today. That's what it was scheduled, and the auditors called me about 3 weeks ago and said, we are running behind. Can we move your audit to October the 30th to begin? And so that will begin on October the 30th. We were kind of glad. It's tough to do that.
That's not a bad thing.
No, it's not. And it's tough to do that when you're trying to do that many refunds and review and make sure everything's going out. By October the 30th, it will be quieter on that end. So logistics, I know, and IT have gotten me their rough draft of a strategic plan initiative for transportation and IT. So we'll begin reviewing that and probably May have something for you guys to review and that type of thing for the end of the fall semester. So, any questions for me?
Thank you very much. Luke, what you got?
We went 3-1 in volleyball this weekend. Up at the KCK tournament, we played really well. I was in Wichita as the baseball chair for the conference, the last Thursday and Friday. Our sophomores did really well at the sophomore showcase. There's probably about 80 to 100 schools there, from the D1 level down to NAIA. Our kids did really well. We have Midnight Madness at 7 o'clock on October 12th with our basketball and cheer. We'll have a dunk contest, 3-point contest, cheer and dance. We'll do something big. And then got that. Never happened before.
It's never happened. That's what I
It's sorry, my security went into me there, like my police background. After that, we'll have like a dance contest and everything else. It'll be fun with judges and all that. And then we're also looking at some flooring covering options, and I know the president will go into that in his, but for the gym. But that's kind of what we're doing right now. We're busy. We got a lot of things going on.
Busy is good.
Oh yeah, busy's good. I'd rather be busy.
Questions? Okay, Tom.
All right.
I did, there is a report in there for me. I'll just highlight one thing from each of the areas because it is a little lengthy. So within the resident's life, we did look at updating our overnight guest policy to give us kind of the ability to cross-check overnight guest registrations versus the sex offender, drug offender list. It gives us a little bit of freedom to be able to investigate each one of those requests that comes in and make the best decision for our campus safety and community safety. Within PR, Jared has been working pretty heavily on the website and also taking headshots and promotional photos for different organizations on campus. He's been doing an excellent job and he works very hard, probably more than any of us. He puts in a lot of hours and we're really grateful to be able to have him. Advising has been doing a lot of late start enrollment. We have classes that start in the middle of the semester. They're normally 8-week classes and they've been busy enrolling those and checking the early alerts, making sure kids are doing okay in all their classes and going to their classes, most importantly. Trio has 140 students that were funded to serve 150, and so they did a great job this year being able to get their levels up there to where we're helping as many students as we possibly can. And Courtney's been pretty busy with iPads, which is institutional numbers reporting, trying to make sure that all of our information is correct. She's also working directly with Ben on the Gens of RJ1 implementation. And so they've been very busy with that and also keeping everybody on the loop, getting the teams that are going to be playing a big part in the implementation, getting everyone on the same page with weekly meetings and whatnot, so we can get that thing rolling. In admissions, sorry, there's a flag. It's like I must think at this time of the day. Admissions, this is their big season, CPC season, which is when their college career planning fairs, they go all October across the state of Kansas. And so really October and November are the key areas as far as recruiting students for the next year to be able to come in. And so they are making sure that we have all of the areas of the state covered, that we have people at all the fairs representing Fort Scott, and are also aligning campus tours and whatnot in November when they get back from all of those. We get hopefully hundreds and hundreds of prospects at these CPCs. That's the hope, is that we generate as much interest across the state of Kansas for our school and be able to increase the just awareness of who we are, where we are, and what we got going on, and really start recruiting those students individually as soon as those prospect cards come back. And so it's a busy time in there as well. And I will be happy to answer any questions if anyone has.
When we have kind of numbers on admissions for the fall, or is it already done?
As far as
Like how many students we have?
this,
So-
like our,
So, yeah, KBOR is a stickler about, we report the numbers to them. And then they do a statewide release. They don't like it when we get out ahead of them.
Really?
So, yes, so they have
Imagine that.
compiled a list, they've compiled all the information from the state. I think that was due on Friday
Yes.
of last week, and so we'll have numbers for you. As soon as they release them.
Okay.
You mean
Good to
we
know.
can- we are not able to know, but not just we.
Publicly, we can't announce those numbers.
It's a secret.
Seems kind of odd.
It's,
Again, I feel the local
It-
control.
it's a conversation that we can have internally and individually, but we can't publicly discuss those numbers. So we can, but we just get a slap on the wrist.
Slap on the wrist.
Yeah, so we like to be in good standings with that.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
agree or not, it's the way it is.
It is. So we will have those numbers publicized soon.
I just would note, you have Marcus here, and I think Sonia also graduated from the Lead Bourbon County program, so I've seen them at many of the chamber coffees, dutifully reporting every month, so we appreciate them.
So they weren't just taking time off.
I don't think
drinking
so.
coffee someplace else. They were-
No,
From 8 to 9 anyway. I don't know if they were on the stage.
no, it was a really good experience, got to meet people from different companies and yes, yeah. Got to visit different companies, which I had never done before, so yeah, it was a good experience.
Yeah, I think it's great the college participates in that, so thank you.
Anything else for Tom? Jason, you're up.
Well, so I was gonna lead with enrollment, but Brian.
Sorry.
Jumped the gun a little bit, which is totally fine. But that information, we submitted that information last week. I can, without giving numbers, I can anticipate that there's gonna be some fluctuations amongst our peer institutions, including ourselves. We have observed that our enrollment is shifting. And so there's some areas where we're going to be up and then some areas where we're going to be down significantly. And so we will just have to look at how we examine our course offerings as we kind of move forward. And I'm looking forward to seeing the course selection schedule as we kind of move forward. But we are really going to have to start focusing on the recruitment and retainment of students, because that's going to be critical for us as we move forward. Last week I had an opportunity to meet with faculty, and that was exciting. We started the meeting at 2:00 and I walked out of there about 4:45. And I wasn't beaten over the head. I wasn't threatened. It was a great conversation with faculty about a number of things. Some of those things include, we had a conversation about COVID. There's some concern about COVID, and you guys saw the information that we put out, that we're just asking people to respect each other. And then hopefully we won't have to go into a situation where we're mandating anything. So good conversation about that. They had some feedback. We also talked about faculty advising, and there was a number of people in the room that said that they were interested in advising, doing some advising of their majors. And I say there's a number in the room that said they were interested in it, and then there's also a silent group that probably is thinking, I don't want to do advising. And if they're thinking, I don't want to do advising, then we probably don't want them doing advising, right? And so, we're gonna have to have some conversations, but that's a great place to be, or a great space to be in when you have faculty members that are wanting to do, help out with some advising. One of the things that they also mentioned was the recruitment of students. They are excited, and I said, okay, every faculty member in here that makes contact with 5 students in the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I would take them out and buy them a Sonic drink. And so I'm going to email faculty and ask them who's done it, because on the honor system, so we'll take their orders, not this Friday, but the following Friday, which is our first Friday, and they'll be the recipient of our first Friday thing, Sonic drink incentive. So they were really excited about being a part of that process. One of the other things that we had talked about was they want some signage on campus. Some areas are hard to find. One faculty member was like, you don't even know where my office is. No one's been to my classroom. Not in a negative way, but legitimately. And it was Vanessa Pointer. I'll call her out. But she wasn't talking about me specifically. She was talking about different people. So the faculty requested that we have those meetings a little bit more often, like once a month, and they asked us to move them around so we can see different areas, see different people's area of campus. And so I think that's a great idea, and I'm more than welcome to do that, as long as we continue to have some positive conversations. We talked about class sizes, promotion of their educational programs, and the academic calendar. And so I anticipate there's going to be, we've got the calendar committee set. And so we're going to get with that group and give them their charge. And I think that's going to be an interesting, exciting opportunity for the college as we move forward. There's some people in the room were not a big fan of the current schedule that we have. Some people in the room were. And so I'm interested to see how that committee navigates those waters and figure that piece of it out. But it was a great time with faculty. Again, started at 2, got out about 2 or 4:30, 4:45, and we had a significant number of faculty that showed up. Is that correct? From you guys' perspective. Talked a little bit about the pond. So do you guys remember all that they're doing? Basically, they're going to drain the pond, let the clay at the bottom dry out, and they're going to scoop it out and eventually fill it back. And they're going to, the county has agreed that they're going to provide some rock so that we can keep the erosion from occurring, and build up that area over there on the northwest corner of the east pond. So I'm excited. I pressed Don a lot in our meeting last week about we got to do something to take those limits off just for right now, because our students, I mean, those fish out of water aren't going to do very well. And so why don't we allow the community to come out and just fish? And his concern, and I appreciate his concern, was people harvesting them and taking them to another pond, and then the invasive, I did not do very well in science. So the invasive species won't take over those bodies of water. So yeah, that will be interesting. We're able to get that squared away. A little bit of bad news that we need to make the board aware of. And it is has not an easy decision by any stretch of the imagination, but we will be notifying the conference tomorrow, later on this week, that we are going to suspend our women's basketball season for the 2023-2024 season. Kind of spoken with some of you individually just to give you a heads up, but we're down to 4 scholarship players, one of which is coming off of an ACL injury. So there's no guarantee that she will be able to make it through a 30-game season. So we explored the idea of taking it to a 14 to 20 game season. I met with the team, Luke and I met with the team individually, and there were some concerns about losing an entire year of eligibility by only playing 14 to 20 games. And so we recognize that, we honor that. And so one of the things that we have decided to suspend the season. This will give the current staff the opportunity to do some coaching, or excuse me, do some recruiting. And let me be clear that the current staff, and Jolie's in the room, but the current staff had nothing to do with the situation. They were brought in and into an impossible situation. We had signed, we had hired a couple of coaches. They left this summer. In July, we asked Jolie to take over. She did. She's done a phenomenal job. The student athletes were the student athletes that I spoke with were very, very supportive and very, very much cared about how this impacted Jolie as she moved forward. And so she's got a great relationship with them. But the student, when we got here in August, how many do we have, Luke? 12?
Yeah, we had about 12.
We had about 12 student athletes on LOIs and ready to go. And due to some untruths that they were told through the recruiting process by one of the previous coaches, those students got here and they had determined that they were sold a bill of goods. And so they ended up leaving pretty much as soon as they got here, and left us in kind of a lurch. And Jolie and her staff made multiple calls to coaches, high school students, multiple pleas to the campus community about seeing if we could fill the roster. And it just, we were at 5, I think, and with a few other sports, student athletes from other sports who were willing to help us out. And then one student decided to leave about 2 weeks ago. And at that point, we just decided that this was in the best interest of the program. So we will be suspending the season for this fall, 2023-2024. We'll notify the conference. This will give those teams an opportunity to fill their schedule if they so choose, or if they want to use it as a day off. That's completely up to them. One of the things that we will be asking the staff to do is, since there's some time, we're going to reassign them to some other areas of campus to help us out. So for example, admissions is going to need some help because they're hitting about 28 CPCs this year, including other high schools. And so since they're on a 2-person department, we're going to ask the women's basketball staff to help stage some of the campus tours and things like that. And then they're even going to do some campus or some high school visits and CPCs as well. So we've got a plan that will still give them an opportunity to continue to do some recruiting, and we will start over again in 24-25.
Can I just ask, it's my recollection that pretty much the entire women's team graduated last year, right? I mean, there weren't many return.
We had one return.
One.
Yeah.
That is a big hole to start out of.
Yeah. So we felt like the student athletes and their physical and mental were much more important to us than wins and losses and putting a team out there on the floor. That would be tough to do. You play Wednesday, Saturday during your conference season, and I have all the faith in the world in our athletic trainer, but that's a lot to ask to get people ready when they're playing 40 minutes if you don't go into overtime. So Any questions about the women's basketball piece of that?
The four that you had four that are remaining, are they staying here? Are they planning to try and play somewhere else?
They have been given the option to stay here.
Mhm.
We are going to honor their scholarship for this year, and we are going to honor their scholarship next year if they choose to not play. So they will have that commitment from the college. I think a couple will stay. I think 3 will stay through the year. And then 1 will probably leave if she hasn't already left. I don't know.
One
And
will
then,
stay next year as well.
and then
She's already committed into taking it as a redshirt year.
Gotcha.
Getting bigger and stronger and doing all that.
and this does not affect their eligibility because they get 5 years to play for.
Mhm.
So this is just considered their redshirt year. Happens a lot in lots of other sports, even on this campus. So it's a win for the student athletes and for the program.
And no real negative impact on the staff.
And no real negative impact on the staff. We will have some conversations about what that looks like, but I'm confident that they will be able to step up and do the things that we're asking. So, and I'm excited for them as well. One of the things that I wanted to bring to the board is 2 things I wanted to bring. First thing is I would like for us to maybe get together and have a board retreat where we can talk about some things. We can talk about the budget. We can talk about the goals that we've set that we've sent out to the faculty and staff that you guys need to be on board with. So we're in our executive cabinet meeting. We're going to start talking a little bit about that. And so I should have some more information for you in the October meeting as far as potential dates. But I think to the point earlier, we can tie that in with the budget information and make it worthwhile. And it may be a Saturday thing, unless you want to do it during the week, but we'll have some conversations about that. So just FYI, I want to talk to you guys about that. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is the gym floor, and Luke kind of alluded to it earlier. We have a brand new gym floor that looks amazing and sounds deafening in that facility when you get things going. And I do mean deafening. I mean, literally, I was
hearing protection and I forgot to.
I might even see it.
we had talked about doing some things to drown some of the noise out, but I asked that we look more at a floor covering because with the number of events that took place in there, I think it would be ideal. Basically, we have enough to cover the main floor with the bleachers pulled out, carpet squares, but I'd like some guidance from you all in terms of, do we want to look at getting more carpet squares and finishing out the rest of the side of the floor? And when I say carpet squares, they're probably 2 by 4, 5, 6, something like that. I mean, they're
3 by 6 usually.
3 by 6. So a decent sized piece of carpet that just lays on the floor and we can get it done pretty quickly. The other alternative is a cover system that is on I don't want to say a pulley, but is on a roll that you literally pull it out, you drop it, and then you move the rack down and you pull it out and you drop it. You keep going on with that. I don't know that I have a preference. There's only a couple thousand, 3,000 difference in price on between the carpet squares and or the flooring. But just any thoughts or any insight that you guys have in covering the floor?
How much money are we talking?
Roughly 18,000 for the carpet squares and about 21 for the flooring system for the
When would these be out? I mean, like for non-game time?
Yes, so like when the rodeo is here, we tend to have people that they have their concessions in there and people
Okay.
come over and sit, so with Spurs and the other stuff that could be on boots. We want to protect what you're talking about. But also, I think it's the home shows that we've had out there, that traffic gets pretty heavy. And so we want to keep the floor nice as we can. Plus, this might allow us to use it a little more often.
How big is that, roll?
How big?
No, how thick is that roll compared to carpet?
It's less, it's a thinner piece than a carpet. The carpet squares would hold up. They said it can hold up to anything, that's what they're saying, so.
Yeah. And if you guys are good with us making a decision, I'm fine with that too, but I just didn't know if the board had wanted to share any insight or input on that.
What did we have before? We had something before.
Carpet squares before we used prior.
What we used before. Okay. I was
So we only had the center core, because we had the concrete around the outside, and
Yeah.
now it's all wood.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more traffic area, especially with the bleachers pulled in. It's basically wide open wood.
I would say between you and Luke, you know what needs to be done.
Perfect. I'm good with that. Sounds good. Wanted to make sure. Okay, and then the last thing I have is a couple weeks ago. We hired a new person in our as theater manager, director.
I think we're calling in technical director.
Technical director, sorry.
Mhm.
Technical director of the theater in the Ellis Fine Arts Center. That area, his name is Josh Martin. He comes to us from Ramsey. Josh Ramsey. From Pittsburgh area. He has done a fantastic job. On day 2, he hosted in the facility held the hypnotist magician from sorry. The hypnotist is in November. Okay. The magician, which had about a couple hundred students in there. And he was able to work through some technical difficulties and get things moving, and he's been a joy to work with. One of the things that he's been tasked with is getting more opportunities for people and events to be held in the fine arts area. And so he has taken to that challenge and done a fantastic job. I'm excited to see, and I've asked him to get in touch with some of the local dance groups about hosting something on campus. We really need to utilize this as an opportunity and as a recruiting tool, because it truly is. And so I'm excited to see the things that he's done. Last week, we hosted the Three Rivers League had a sportsmanship summit on campus where we had 70 student athletes from the Three Rivers League, which includes Uniontown and Pleasanton and Jayhawk Land and all the way to St. Paul. And that was great. Lots of compliments from the staff that were here about things that we were doing and being able to host that here. So we're excited to continue that. And then the last thing, staying in the Ellis Fine Arts Center. We are looking for a foundation director. I think I might have kind of shared this with a couple of you, but that position was not budgeted this year, but we think with some positions that we have that have yet to be filled, we think we may have the ability to slide that over to the foundation, but that's going to be a pretty significant role and a significant impact to the budget. One of the things that I met with the foundation board last month, and they had expressed that they wanted some stability in that area. I mean, to put it bluntly. And so if we could get some, and so in order to do that, we're probably gonna have to increase the salary on that. And I felt like there was some energy in the room that the foundation board would be willing to help us with some incentives for said person once they achieved X amount of dollars or whatever. But the openness and the willingness to talk about doing some things like that was a joy for me. So we're gonna look for that. It's posted on the website, but I think we have it at a minimal, but we're gonna increase that salary and those responsibilities a little bit. So, any questions for me?
Do want to make a comment at the Old Settlers Day Parade. The Fscc Community College made a great presence, and I heard several comments from people in that community.
So for those that didn't see it, we took a 30-foot trailer down the streets of Uniontown. And Michael Clark, who is our CDL, one of our CDL instructors, was the driver. And he kind of walked the route before, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is a problem." And I'm thinking, this better not be a problem. It will be a much bigger problem if we do not do this correctly. And he was able to whip that truck and trailer around, and we had student athletes, track, cheer, men's basketball, tossing candy. I tossed out shirts, and it was a great time. So we enjoyed being there, probably more so than they enjoyed us being there. But or at least I did. I can speak for everybody else. But Luke brought his kids. My kids had practice or something where they were going to look pretty someplace, so I couldn't get them to go with us. But and honestly, we've actually had a request from the high school football team down in Pittsburgh that we allow them to utilize the truck and trailer for the high school football team during one of the, I think, the homecoming parade for PSU. So I said, as long as we, because they had some really nice logos of our logo for CTech and the college on the truck. And so I'm like, as long as we can keep those on there, we might consider that. So we'll see on that. But it was great, and Michael and his son did a fantastic job. And but you failed to realize that or mention that you were our grand marshal, because you let us in, because we were following you in your 1920 Model T, right?
Yes.
1920 Model T. So it was a good time.
Model T gets chased by trucks a lot, doesn't it?
That's right. I kept it going.
That's good.
Any other questions for me?
Think there's anything else on the agenda for us, is there? Anybody want to make a move to go home? No.
I make a motion for adjournment.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Have a wonderful evening. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Robert.
Good job, President Pro Tem.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoy the rest of your trip.
Okay, we'll do. See you in a week.
Or retreat locations or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michigan. Would you?